Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
WMAL.
8:07 now on O'Connor and Company. If you missed our first 3 hours here as we venture into the fourth hour of our broadcast morning, please, why don't you do yourself a favor? And I'll be honest, you're doing us a favor too. If you subscribe to our podcast, O'Connor and Company, on all podcast platforms, it's also very convenient because if you miss any of the show, it automatically will be right at your fingertips and you can check it out. And it gets uploaded within an hour of our show going off the air. So, I mean, win-win-win all around. And that way you stay on top of everything that we're talking about. This morning we talked to Frederick County Sheriff Chuck Jenkins. We talked to State Senator of Virginia Bryce Reeves. We talked to Cal Thomas. And, of course, coming up in 30 minutes, we'll talk to Ambassador Rick Grenell. And all morning long, I've been talking to Bethany Mandel. Morning, Bethany.
Are you getting sick of me? Is this it? Have we reached our limit?
I'm not. In fact, I'm willing to reveal now to everyone that at the end of yesterday's show, we I don't know why, but when we at the end of the show and done for the work day, and I went on to
goodbye, walked
move
out.
on to my last, say see you tomorrow, and for some reason I don't know why it slipped out of my mouth, but I said to you, I said, okay, goodbye, sweetheart, and you were gone. And I actually turned to Heather Hunter, our producer. I said, "Did I just call Bethany sweetheart? What was that?"
And do you know how?
And I immediately texted you and said, I can't believe I called you sweetheart."
Do you know how insulted and hurt I was when I got that text? You took back your sweetheart. You just threw in the line and reeled it in. I was like, I felt like we had really crossed a corner in our relationship, and I was in sweetheart territory, and then you just pulled it away.
We're both
yanked
married.
Out the blanket from under me.
Well, part of me, I always think it's okay to do that sort of thing if you're both married, right? Aren't those the rules? It's like, there's no danger there. There's no.
I mean, there's just no danger there, and also we're not alone. It's not like we're like. I follow the Mike Pence rule.
Right. Oh, so do I. For the most part, so do I. It's the we're not. This is not going to be a Joe and Mika situation, which, let's face it, is a Me Too situation with a happy ending.
We have 10 children between the two of us.
Yes. No, that's
it would honestly. I always say this to Seth. It would be impressive if either one of us was having an affair. Like I would be
honestly,
proud.
It's a case study. Don't tell your husband that, please. That's not a good idea.
I tell him that all the time. He works from home. He has a toddler on his lap 80% of his waking hours. I would be proud.
No, you wouldn't. Can I just say, this happens to me a lot. I don't know why. First of all, I'm surrounded by women. I had no offense to Michael Shelton, our audio engineer, but for the most part, this show is run by women, from the executive producer to the co-host to this.
And you have a rotating
Jamie
cast
Whitten,
of character women.
Lots of women, and I'm very fortunate for it. And I will often, if you have close working relationships with women, things like that slip for some reason. And I don't know what, but it does happen to me sometimes where I will use a term of endearment like that on someone that I should not. And it's not deliberate. It just slips out. And I called you sweetheart.
You're polygamous in your work wives.
Yes. I am old school Brigham Young style Mormon here in my work wives. So my sister-in-law is only about 20 months older than my wife. And they are very, now Meredith is blonde. My sister-in-law's got brown hair. But other than that, they're the same person. They have the same voice. They have the same inflections. They have the same sensibilities. They look very, very much alike. They do. But also they just sort of carry it. So we joke whenever we get together for Christmas, we always joke that's that's the other Meredith, that's the other Jackie, right? So it was Christmas time, we were having a family gathering, and I felt the presence of Meredith right behind me as she was walking by, and I just reached out and put my hand kind of affectionately, not on anything inappropriate.
Okay, that's
but
good.
it was on the small of her back. But it was definitely a husbandly gesture.
Right.
To the woman who is your wife, that again, nothing inappropriate, nothing sexual, nothing like, but it was just definitely a sort of like a love, not even a caress, just and then I looked up and it was not my wife, of course. It was my sister-in-law. And I was absolutely mortified. And she thought it was hilarious, of course.
Right,
Meredith thought it was hilarious.
My favorite is when kids do that, when they run up to you thinking you're their parent.
Yes.
And then you look down and you're like, hey, honey. And they look up and they jump and they're like, oh, my God.
Yes.
You're not my mom.
That's right. But I think it's because you have a vibe. It's like, I'm not your dad, but I am a daddy. It's true. Dads have vibes. And so they immediately are attracted to that vibe. So no, the long answer to your question, I am not getting sick of spending time with you. I do miss Julie Gunlock desperately. And
so
for those of you who are just getting up to speed and saying, who is this Bethany chick? Bethany has been an absolute warrior, stepping up and filling in on a lot of these days here for Julie Gunlock, who is still on the mend. She's every single day. She is getting better and better. I haven't seen her in a couple of weeks. I was hoping to see her this weekend, but schedules did not work out. But I have heard from her husband, Darren, and things are progressing. And we got to get her back here on the air.
I know. I was just about to say, do you know how early I have to wake up? This is
yes,
Larry,
actually, I do.
You know?
I know very well. In fact,
she needs to come back. This is absurd. Come on.
Well, I know she's trying. Your prayers are definitely helping and
Amen.
Working. And if you want to register those prayers, right now I'm looking at her Give Send Go page, givesendgo.com/Julie Gunlock, and there are 77 prayer warriors going right now, and you can add to that prayer brigade if you could. Just go to givesendgo.com/Julie Gunlock. Get in there, get some updates on how Julie and the family are doing. And like I said, she's on the mend and she's getting there. But no, I'm not getting sick of you. In fact, I've reached a level of familiarity with you, Bethany, where I called you sweetheart in the workplace. And again, I apologize. This is my way of reporting myself to HR.
Stop apologizing. It's hurtful when you apologize.
I should probably text Seth and apologize to him for that. Sweetheart. All right. Listen, real fast, I do want to wrap up. We wanted to touch base with Jorge Ventura, but he's on the ground in Minneapolis. Very hard to get to him. But I want you to listen to this. These are the anti-ICE protesters right now trying to get in the way of Jorge Ventura, a legitimate reporter, journalist for Daily Color News Foundation, covering this news event. Not like, Don Lemon, who was in cahoots with the resistance force that barged into a church and interrupted a prayer service. No, take a listen to this.
They say that these cars actually look like ICE, and they're actually following them. So we're actually seeing this in real time. Hey, how you doing, man? You're right next to me. I can film here, buddy. It's a public sidewalk. Me. Why did you try to steal my phone right now?
You guys gotta get out of here, man.
Oh, no, he's pushing me, man. Go to me.
So get in the car and get out of here. Get in the car. Get in the car, man.
That's the sound of a reporter being assaulted by the mob. I didn't hear Jake Tapper or George Stephanopoulos or anyone on Ms. Now
or
screaming.
Joy Behar
Screaming First Amendment, screaming freedom of speech, freedom of the press. They're all, renting their clothing over Don Lemon. And meanwhile, Jorge Ventura is literally getting physically assaulted by these agitators in Minneapolis. Hopefully we will connect. Obviously, we were unable to connect with Jorge today because of events on the ground. Hopefully we'll get to him tomorrow. It is 8:15. Absolutely incredible story out of Newcastle County, Delaware. You know what? Let's let our buddy Jesse Waters sort of set it up, and then we'll discuss. Take a listen.
Fox News alert. Dr. Jill's ex-husband, William Stevenson, has been charged with the murder of his second wife. Police say they found 64-year-old Linda Stevenson dead at the scene in their Delaware home just a few days after Christmas. Authorities arrived following a domestic dispute call. That's when they found Linda unresponsive on the living room floor. Before Linda, Stevenson was married to Jill Biden back in 1970 when Jill was 18. They both worked on Joe Biden's first Senate campaign until divorcing in 75, and then 2 years later, Joe Biden married Jill. Stevenson accused Jill of having an affair with Joe during the campaign. Jill Biden denies the affair. Now Stevenson's in custody after failing to post a $500,000 cash bail.
All right, so unbelievable, absolutely tragic, obviously, for this woman, Linda Stevenson, 64 years old, found dead on December 28th after there was a domestic dispute call to the police. Now this man, William Stevenson, the ex-husband ex-husband of the First Lady of the United States, Dr. Jill Biden, she's a doctor, has been arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Incredible. By the way, there were always these rumors and these allegations that there was an extramarital affair, that Joe was... I believe she worked on the campaign, but I think she also sort of was a nanny and a babysitter to the kids after Joe lost his wife at the time, of course, and famously in that car accident that also took the life of one of his children. Stevenson always accused Jill of cheating on him with Joe Biden. They did end up getting married. There were a lot of pictures of the two of them back at the time. She was much younger than Joe. Also, if I may, as a straight man in America, she was a hottie. Jill back there in her 20s, she was a cutie pie, and she sort of evoked that whole 70s thing. And now here we are, 50 years later, and her ex-husband is accused of murder.
Yeah, no, this is one of those really wild stories. I mean, perhaps because like TMZ and all of those are so focused on Nancy Guthrie, Savannah's mother, that they haven't focused on this. But this is truly a wild story that this man was so potentially, we don't know if he did it or not, but so potentially mentally unbalanced that he would do something like this. We were talking earlier in the show about Netflix, and this is where Netflix can really make their money. I want to see a true crime documentary about this situation. And while I'm making requests, the Utah woman who dropped her children off at a Croatian orphanage, another documentary I would like to see Netflix take on. These companies need conservatives in their wings and in their ranks who are the normies, who are like, guys, this would get a lot of views. This would get a lot of clicks.
This is what people do want to see, And it's compelling.
This is what I want to see.
Real life drama is oftentimes much more compelling than the fake stuff.
And you factor in the political angle. This is gold, guys. Yeah. Netflix, come on, get on this.
Crazy. I wonder if he showed any signs of abuse in there. I have no record of Jill Biden ever saying such things, but it would be interesting to find out. No. Meanwhile, speaking of first ladies, the box office continues to grow for First Lady Melania Trump and her documentary, Melania. It's now the #1 documentary in nearly 2 decades.
Wow.
And yesterday, during this executive order signing session where President Trump brings the media into the Oval Office, he was sort of riffing on this, and a very, very endearing moment, but also a very funny moment as he bragged on his wife. Here, take a listen.
Movie star Melania Trump, Foster Youth to Independence Initiative. So she really loves the children, and she's had a tremendous success. So it's the #1 documentary in 19 years. Can you believe this? What do I get out of it? Nothing out of it. Now I had a top model, now I have a top movie star.
I get nothing out of it. I love that he's always looking for it. What's my cut of that?
So it's funny because everyone, when this was announced, everyone accused Amazon of they did this in agreement so they could get kickbacks from the Trump administration. Everyone had a conspiracy about this. It turned out the conspiracy was Amazon wanted to make money. That was the conspiracy. They saw dollar signs on Melania in a way that People Magazine and Vogue and all of these fashion mags have never seen dollar signs on her, which is inexplicable to me. Yeah. But guys, Amazon is learning the right way by making lots of money. Well, everyone else should too.
You assume they are. I mean, listen, it is selling well. It's doing well at the box office. I'm sure it will do well with streaming. I believe they spent $40 million or so. So it's going to take a while to get that money back. But it's nothing compared to some of the garbage they spend that kind of money on that never ends up doing well.
How much did they give to Harry and Meghan? Come on.
Well, that was Netflix. But yes, you're right.
No,
you're
but
right.
I'm saying. Yes,
exactly. And that died. Although, actually, to be fair, there were a lot of people who hate watched the Meghan documentary. So they may have calculated that. They say, "Oh, we gotta invest in this. People hate her. They'll love to watch it." What is that? Is there a name for that phenomenon where you actually hate these people, so you got to sit down and watch it?
Yeah, hate watching. You nailed it.
It's just hate watching. No, but there's got to be a disorder of some kind.
Well, if I have it, I did hate watch the first season, but they signed her. They signed her onto multiple seasons. So hate watching does not explain
That was a bridge too far.
Yeah, it was silly.
I hear you. I'm like that with Hallmark movies, but it's a whole other dementia. It's 8:23.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:37. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in to O'Connor and Company. Coming up in 30 minutes is Chris Plant. Ooh, love it when my mouth gets ahead of my brain. You picked out the words there somewhere, didn't you, Bethany Mandel? Thanks for being here this morning.
Was there to say something about my brain that I understood that very easily?
Yeah. I left out a couple of consonants. Joining us right now, Ambassador Rick GRENELL. He's the president of the Trump Kennedy Center. I've been calling it the TKC. Can we make that stick, Ambassador GRENELL? I think it sounds cool.
Good morning. Of course, I think TKC is an appropriate term.
Excellent.
Bethany, I just want to say a big shout out. Hello, I'm a big fan of yours. Thank you.
Big ditto.
Literally never said that about me. I've known the man for a decade. Literally never.
Oh, come on, Larry. You know that you're like the goat.
I get hurt. All right. So it's amazing how there's this newfound interest in the media, financial media, performing arts media, etc., about the disposition of the Trump Kennedy Center and the status of the balance sheet, the financials, and the state of the disrepair that the building finds itself in. Because, Ambassador GRENELL, I've been in this town for going on a decade and a half. They didn't really talk about it much. They ignored the place.
Yeah. Well, look, you know me, I'm a pretty happy warrior, and I'm glad that there's attention to it. We're working hard to try to correct the record in the media, which we always have to do. I think we've really just got this political media that loves clicks, and media is a business, and they don't really care about finding balance or the truth anymore. But look, for me, it's pretty simple. President Trump has saved the Trump Kennedy Center. We came in, and it was in financial disrepair. It was physically falling apart. Those 2 points are not debatable. If anyone looked at the facts, those 2 points are not debatable. You can still come to the now Trump Kennedy Center and see the physical building literally still falling apart. And so we had a choice. We could either hang a sign that said, "Pardon our dust," or we could hang a sign that says, "Closed for renovations."
You know,
and we chose closed for renovations.
Yeah, and I think that's a sensible thing. I've been sharing that I was involved in the renovation of the Schubert Theater in Century City. Sadly, it got demolished 10 years later. But you can't. It's nearly impossible to do an extensive renovation on a building of that age, specifically that era, and still maintain operations. I want to ask you, though, knowing the era that this building was created, is there an asbestos issue here? Because that was a big part, the problem that we had at the ABC Entertainment Center is that those buildings, there was asbestos on the steel beams, and so the abatement really shut the place down. You can't have artists and staff working there while you're going through that. Is that part of the factor here?
There's a small part of that. Remember, this is more of a mid-century modern building, but there is still asbestos that needs to be taken care of. There's a whole bunch of concerns that all just kind of piled up, and I think in the beginning we were thinking the last thing we want to do is shut down to do it, but it became clear that the common sense decision was to shut down. We had a lot of concerns from the unions. We had concerns from people who were focused on patrons who are elderly and they don't want to have a lot of construction around. We, for one example, we thought about taking 20 rows of seats out at a time and renovating, but then that's a construction project that affects acoustics for the symphony, that affects the handicapped areas and wheelchairs. It really could be one of these things that if you have the money, you make the decision to close for renovations. And thank God President Trump is an amazing fundraiser, and he had the vision to go to Congress and ask Congress to fix the building. So for years of ignoring the building, President Trump fixed it by raising enough money to balance the budget and to, we still have a long way to go on the finances because they were paying staff with the debt reserves. And remember, we've got this big balloon payment coming up in 2030. So we've got to fix that problem. We got to fix the endowments that they raided. And then on top of that, this $257 million to fix the building is a gift from God. It's a gift from Congress, but it's a gift from God because we need to be able to rip the Band-Aid off, fix this, and take 2 years, hopefully less. And then we have this amazing, beautiful cultural arts center. I don't understand the people in Washington, D.C. who are in newsrooms who are so myopic that they're not seeing this as a total celebration to fix a building that the people before us ignored.
Yeah. I'm going to answer your question with your own words because you tweeted in response to the Washington Post's hit job about it. You tweeted, "I asked the Post reporter if she knew what the debt reserves were, and she didn't." That they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're reporting on. What I'm curious about is I love going to the Kennedy Center. You've seen me there before. What are all of these shows going to do? Where are we going to go to see Fraggle Rock and Back to the Future and all of these fun shows that were supposed to be coming to the Kennedy Center?
And the National Symphony Orchestra.
Yes.
Yeah, look, I think the National Symphony is going to be fine. It's an inconvenience for them, of course, but we're working hard, and the team there is very good. And we're going to find alternative spots for them for 2 years. There's a lot of interest for them to tour internationally. We've got other venues. We've got, they could go to the Capitol. They could go to a Smithsonian building. They could go to the White House. There's a lot of places. We just have to get creative because the symphony is obviously very important. It's beautiful. And, Washington needs it. And so we're working closely with them, and I think they are very, positive in terms of we'll find some venues and get through this. There are also many people associated with the Trump Kennedy Center, the experts that are saying, thank God we are going to fix this place because we're spending too much money in quick little repairs. It's just not common sense to do what has been done. And so we're really excited to have a brand new building in 2 years.
The last time President Trump, before he was president, took over a dilapidated, neglected building in Washington, D.C., it was the post office, and it turned into one of the most beautiful hotels and restaurants in the city. So that bodes well. There is no doubt that there has been pushback from the artistic community, from actors, musicians, and various groups. There has been some suggestion that bookings were starting to dry up. Did that factor into this decision? I mean, two things can be correct at once.
Not at all.
It didn't?
No, let me just say this, is that it is not news to anyone who actually covers the finance of art and arts institutions in the industry, that over the last 10 years, ticket sales have been going down for every single arts institution across this country. The reporters who cover arts institutions missed that story for the last 10 years because all they wanted to do is report on woke programming, and they wanted to show that they were more elite than the next one. And so they hire art history students to cover arts institutions, and they don't understand finance, and they were cheerleaders to the ship going down because they didn't know what was going on. I'll give you two quick points. One, the New York Times, which I hardly ever quote, last summer had a big story, that front page story, that Broadway ticket sales were dying. Broadway was dying. It was going away. It was a big, huge story. The second story that just happened 2 or 3 weeks ago is that the New York Met is $250 million in the hole, and they're having drastic cuts and don't know how to fix it because they were relying on Saudi money that didn't come through. Now, those two stories will show you that the industry is in total turmoil. Remember, for the Trump Kennedy Center, we have 19 unions. We have a lot of challenges. We've had financial challenges. And let me just say this about what I believe in Washington, D.C. with people on the left, people on the right, people the power. The elites in power love the power of the problem. They don't want to solve the problem because the power of the problem means they get power. People come to them. They're the center of it. You can dole out little solutions, but you never want to fix the problem because then your power goes away. Donald Trump changed the city of Washington, D.C. He came in and he started fixing problems like the border. And so when he looks at and crime, and he looks at the arts institution that's supposed to be America's cultural center, that's physically and financially falling apart, he says, let's fix it. And then they attack him for trying to fix it because there's short-term inconvenience. I believe retroactively we will look back once we finish this building and we will say, thank God we had a visionary like President Trump who said, go in and fix the problem.
Ambassador Grenell, thanks for joining us. Rick Grenell, one quick exit question. Are you overseeing the renovation? Is this going to be your project?
Well, I think that remains to be seen. I'm not a construction expert, so I think we need to get somebody who is. On July
with all due
5th,
respect, you're not an opera and ballet expert either.
Right. It's more operations. It's more of an operations versus and a fixer versus, okay, let's now have on July 5th a construction site.
Right. No, that's why I asked. It is definitely a different discipline.
I know
that's
someone
for sure,
who renovated a theater.
All right. Ambassador Grenell, thanks for joining us as always.
All the best.